Sure. How you doing, guys? My name is Dr. Mahamed Hashi. I'm a youth worker. I've been doing youth work for the last 19 years. I'm going to give you a bit of my background, and I'm just going to go straight into it. I'm a bit of a storyteller, so I hope you don't mind. I went to school in Lambeth. The school I went to, in 5 years, we had 5 head teachers. So every single year, our head teacher got sacked. Out of 240 of us in my year, 7 of us got 5 A to Cs. So already you can see the expectation and our kind of self-belief was a bit opposed to reality, if I'm honest with you. We didn't really think about going to university. We didn't really think about excelling in things. Success for us was a very localized idea that we made up. Fortunately, I went to a grant-maintained sixth form. It was a really, really interesting experience. My mum always reminds me, after the first day there, I came home and I said to her, Mum, I don't want to go back there. These kids ain't normal. They actually seem to be enjoying learning this rubbish. And you know, that was, for me, the first kind of obstacle that I came across in terms of my perception of reality. Fortunately, I got into university. I went on to do my first degree in biomedical science. As a Muslim, I'm not allowed to take loans that have interest associated with it. So I ended up doing 4 jobs, 7 days a week for 4 years to complete that degree. And for me, again, that was my introduction to youth work, which was one of the 4 jobs, but also the introduction to really working hard to get what I needed. So I've got a degree in biomedical science. I then studied a PGC to become a qualified science teacher. I've done my master's in forensic science. And then I got an honorary PhD for the community work that I was doing. I've won a number of awards as well. So that we've been featured in the Evening Standard's top 1,000 influential Londoners, 2015, 2016, and 2019. Won the Independent on Sundays top 100 happy list. Loads of awards, if I'm honest with you, which is amazing. But this is not about self-glorification right now, although I would like to continue. But the point I'm making about that is the fact that despite the fact that I've never been in a gang, despite the fact that I have never been involved in criminality, despite all these facts, I followed every single rule my mum gave me to be successful. And I've still been a victim of a stabbing in 1999 in an attempted robbery. I was still a victim of a shooting in 2008 while trying to stop a fight. So if you're squeamish, guys, I just want you to close your eyes and take deep breaths until this comes off the screen, okay? So this is actually my injury. Quite awesome, right? So what happened is I was breaking up a fight. The bullet entered here in the shoulder, cut my brachial plexus, which meant I had no feeling. That's the nerve that gives all the feeling and information to the whole arm. The bullet went through, shattered my rib hit my lung, collapsed my lung, and the bullet ricocheted and stopped half a centimeter on top of my spine. Fortunately, I survived. Now, the interesting part about that for me is the fact that it took 5 years for me to be diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, which meant I was running around, still a youth worker, working with vulnerable young people, still doing security work with vulnerable people, still going through my own PTSD that I didn't realize. And that came out as me being hyper-aggressive, being hyper-vigilant, being on my toes 24/7. And that, I was able to survive that because of the support network that I had, especially being a qualified young man, especially having support from my workplace, having a real solid support network. Now, when we talk about Lambeth, generally, Lambeth, in 2014, we had the highest rates of youth violence, as well as the highest incidence of mental health. We also had the highest rates of HIV, second highest rates of teen pregnancy. 1 in 3 children was born into poverty. Of the approximate 320,000 residents, 27% was accepted by the local council as living on the poverty line or just under it, which is 83,700 people. So when our local politicians and our national politicians turn around and say, you need to vote if you want to have a voice, we've got people in these communities that are fighting to survive, let alone thrive. And you want them to put politics and all these games in front of them actually surviving, which was an interesting notion for me moving forward. Now, when I got shot, the interesting part was that almost immediately, while I was in the hospital, I had Trident come over. Trident are the specific gangs kind of branch of the police. And I was in intensive care for 3 days, and during those 3 days, they came and tried to take a statement from me, even though I couldn't talk. They showed me a piece of paper and pointed to it and said, listen, we know you know who it is. We've got 3 anonymous calls saying this person. Just point at the name and we'll go arrest them. And I'm thinking, what about me? I'm here trying to survive. And that's how you try to leech this information out of me. And that's really typical of what the relationship was with the police and people in the community. There's an assumption that because I got shot, I'm automatically involved, that I must have done something to deserve it. And for me, that was the whole attitude that I was getting from the police. I didn't want to talk to them at all. I said to them, look at me. I'm in my bed trying to survive, and you're here asking me these mad questions like getting shot is normal. Now, the media jumped on it as well. And they threw in, I had an argument with a group of 16-year-olds who, after walking out the chicken shop, I got shot. I was thinking, are you going to say the chicken shop? I didn't even go to the chicken. I was a bit chubbier then as well. So, but it was that kind of stuff. I had parents going to the head teacher directly saying, we've heard that you've employed a gang member and he got shot. It's robbery gone wrong, as in I was committing the robbery. A shootout where I missed, another person got me. And these was interesting apart from the fact that, number one, I'm trying to survive. Number two, I'm trying to come out to a job, do you know what I mean? The head teacher turned around and she gave me a renewed year contract with a £7,000 pay increase because of the work that I was doing before. And that, for me, I'll be eternally grateful for, because I was at a vulnerable time and I didn't even realize what was going on in my head. Another interesting one was the fact that about 2 years later, I kept getting pulled over by police, and they called it a hard stop, where armed police, 4 or 5 cars surrounding the car skidded. It was really exciting, apart from the fact that, Charles Menendez got shot a few years ago, and I'm like, I live in Stockwell, so they'll be like, put your hands on the dashboard. I'm like, I can't reach the dashboard. Take off your seatbelt. My seatbelt's over here, where you can't see. You really want me to start doing this? No, you're gonna have to take it off of me, man. And this was the kind of conversation, to the point I was scared to take my mum shopping. I was scared to have my nephew in the car, who was the first person that we got stopped with armed police like that. And it's interesting because my car had 12 gun tags associated with it, which meant every time they run the gun tags or run my plates, it said I was suspected of being involved in 12 different shootings, including mine, which is really interesting. I was like, of course I was involved as the victim, but why don't you clarify it on the notes that you're putting on the car? I ended up selling that car because of that. But for me, it was interesting because I got to, for the first time, really understand what our young people was going through in terms of perceptions. And I'll give you an example. Last year, we had about 140 murders in London, right? And newspapers, they picked it up, and every single minute you're seeing 3rd murder, 5th murder, 7th murder, 11th murder, chaos in the city, murders everywhere, the mayor's failing, police are failing, we need more police. All these kind of headlines. Now, let me break down these stats for you a little bit, right? So last year, we had approximately 140 murders, 69 stabbings, 14 shootings, right? Out of all of that number, how many do you think were under 25? And I don't consider under 25 young people, but how many do you think was under 25? Just throw out some numbers, guys. 70%. 70%. That's not a number, but I'll take the percentage. Numbers, please, guys. Just random. All of them, that's a good one. Out of 140, 49 murders were under 25s. If we go to under 21s, 34, which is quite shocking, right? Out of 140 murders, 34 were young people under 21. Now, let me give you an example of that 34. That includes 18-year-old Abdi Ali, found in the missing. The loft belonged to an elderly couple, not gang-related. 7-year-old Joel, who was killed in an arson attack, again, arson attack. 3-year-old Alfie, who was found unresponsive in his home in Croydon. That is a difficult one for me to associate with a gang, if I'm honest with you, or gang violence. And 11-week-year-old Lily, who again was found unresponsive. These are just examples, and you can go on the websites and find this. The BBC done a good job of listing them all down, and what you found was it started from a 49-year-old was murdered, and a 53-year-old found in a basement. And it was really weird because I thought, Last year, the way they was advertising it was like it was all gang related, and it was gangs that was going crazy across the, and it's only 34 of them was under 21. Again, let's talk about some stats specifically around young black males. 6 times more likely to be stopped and searched, 3 times more likely to be arrested, and more likely generally to receive a custodial sentence for the same crime as their white counterpart. That means their white counterpart gets to go home and they go to jail. These are just typical struggles of being a young black male in terms of, these are police statistics. Now, another one was a good one I kept hearing at the beginning of the year, which was, put down a knife, save a life. Really catchy. That's why I remember it. Not that accurate, if I'm honest with you. Now, when we talk about our young people, I've got a young man, I won't say his name, but this was another life-changing kind of contact for me. This young man, he was coming to the school, he was in year 9, and one of the young people said to me, Mr. Hashi, you know, so-and-so keeps coming into school with a knife, but what he does now, he hides it in a bush. And I was a bit upset with him because we've got a good relationship. So I said to him, listen, why do you keep bringing a knife? This is a place of education. This is where you're supposed to change your life. And he said to me, Hashi, you don't understand. I'm saying, what do you mean I don't understand? The school that I'm a teacher at, I used to attend. I've been stabbed. I've been shot. How can you tell me I don't understand, of all people? He said to me, you don't get it, man. Trust me, these boys, they want to kill me. I said to him, bro, you're like, what, turning 14? No 14-year-old wants to kill another 14-year-old. Maybe stab in the bum or, you know, something like, not silly, but silly in terms of a survival level. You know, if someone's got opportunity to stab you and they decide to stab you in the bum, a lot of these young people celebrate that, like, phew. He said to me, you don't get it. I said, trust me, just leave it at home, don't come. He turned around and got really angry with me. He said, F it, I'm not gonna bring it in. But you see, if these boys come in for me, and I haven't got nothing to make them back up and give me some space to escape, and they kill me, it's your fault. I'm not gonna ask you guys to tell me what your response would have been. I just turned around and walked off, if I'm honest with you. Because I can't condone carrying a knife, and I can't deal with the guilt of feeling like I caused someone to die. And for me, that was interesting because it kept going in my head. I didn't really get it. I was thinking to myself, you know, is this one of them lines that you give your teachers just to justify your actions? You know, it's a good line. I can't argue with it really, but is it reality? Later that year, his friend was murdered outside his school at 8:30 in the morning. Stabbed 11 times, twice in the neck, almost decapitated him. I was there with them on this day while they mourned their friend, and they still mourn him to this day. And that was in 2010. For me, it's interesting that all the boys were on this day crying, and there was not a single adult apart from me there. The only contact they had was with the police, who tried to deal with them as hostile witnesses for that crime. Someone that's going through trauma and going through the death of their friend, and what you want to do is try to arrest them and force them to give a statement without no other care for them. So that was quite deep, but it got even deeper when about 2 years ago, this young man was with his girlfriend and with his other friend and with the friend's girlfriend having a meal in a local shop. And about 15 people came in with baseball bats and samurai swords because they had seen him coming into the shop. And they tried to attack him, and he picked up a knife from the table. This is a steak shop. And this is me watching the CCTV of this. And as soon as he's picked up the knife, you saw a whole gap appear in front of him. To the point they're throwing chairs and tables at him, but they're not interested in getting any closer to him. Guess what the police done? Arrested him for possession of a bladed article. Because they have to get someone, right? That's where the pressure is for the statistics. And when people ask you what you're doing about crime, it's not about really what you're doing about crime, it's really what you've been seen to do about crime. Early last year, I don't know if you guys remember the 4 murders that we had across the capital on New Year's Eve. Do you guys remember? One of them happened in Tulsa. And I'll tell you just a quick background of it. 3 young people were on the bus. Another 3 young people came on the bus. The original 3 that was on the bus ran off the bus, being pursued by the other 3. One of them ran around the bus being chased, got to the front of the bus, and then one of them ended up getting stabbed and dying. So the police knew who they were, arrested people. We waited for the charges. This guy who murdered the other kid, he got charged with possession of a bladed article. I said, how? Someone died. It's not even, you're not saying anything to do with manslaughter, you're not saying murder, you're not saying anything to do with the death. Why are you talking about possession of a bladed article? Well, what had happened was he was the one being chased, and he pulled out his knife, and the other kid ran into it. When the paramedics came and tried to do the CPR to him, they found a samurai sword in his trouser. So how can I, as a responsible practitioner, turn around to young people and say to them, you, specifically you out of everyone, sorry, I'm going to point at you. You don't carry a knife, but everyone else, they can do whatever they like. And you still have to come into this hostile environment where they've got issues with you. You might have issues with them, but I'm disarming you. How does that make sense? When we send our soldiers abroad, do we tell them, if you put down your gun, they'll put down their gun, and everything will be okay? Is that what we say? And I think it's irresponsible because, again, excuse my language, we're taking the piss out of our young people. They're living in a reality that we don't understand, but we're still telling them about our experiences 10, 15, 20 years ago and trying to tell them to apply that to this reality right now, which doesn't make any sense. Now, coming to a subject that's quite dear to my heart, drill music. Again, as a practitioner, I believe music in general, or anything young people do, should be looked into as a source of communication, a source of understanding. Now, unfortunately, with drill music, because of the kind of stigma associated with it, the only people that listen to it are police officers. And police officers only listen to it to look for convictions or look for something to convict you with, which is really sad. Now, one of the things I'm going to do today is play a drill song. Sorry, I didn't realize this was still up. For whoever's eyes was closed. So what I'm going to do, the drill music, the song that I'm going to play for you, these are young people from my estate that I know well. Perfect. And what I want you to do is just listen to it. And maybe if you really enjoy it, I don't know if you might connect with some of the things in here. I don't know any of your backgrounds, you know. Could be gang members, who knows. But if you connect with it, I want you to listen to what they're talking about. And I want you to hear the cries of pain and the cries of help that only the police listen to hear the violent bits and the drugs and how they make their money. It's quite a well-made video as well, you know, if I'm honest with you.
Mams,
Can't hear it.
Blocker, Splash, Reach, BP, Father, Call It, Blocker, Stags, Silent, 40. Rides up in that sweatbox, my summer's never been sunny. Got me back on induction, no welcome home, it's just grubby. No welcome home, there's no love there. Saw my brother, he's coping. Lifed off, but he's living. I hugged him and I love him. Like real brothers, I got them. Real brothers, I lost one. BP got 11, judge, hit him up with that lump sum. Real love never fades. Stagger, that's my day one. From day one, it's never changed. Never roll around with no fake ones. My mum cried when you left. In her heart, you was like her son. Like throwbacks of us chilling. Throwbacks of us kicking. Throwbacks on the M. Love the fact that you lived it. Made the war for my bro. I made the war for his kids. Never been no side man. Never left my brothers through shit. Dick my bro when I miss him. I wonder how your mum copes. Little sister lost big bro. I wonder how she gon' grow. Losing Zach made us close. Losing us made us cry. Every day I see frown. I hold him tight, I feel you. Hug loss, I feel love. Team raw on my back. Stop core in my palm. M block in my heart. Same bros from them should stays. Been around from the start. Course the pain never ends. always feel like riding. Things don't feel right, everything took timing. Been down on my back, no peace in my pocket. Woke up with no plans, woke up with no profits. Everything seems different, niggas standing with brand. Peace came in, put it down, we were stacking up for that scram. Threw my bros on the landing, splash home fresh. All my niggas feel this, can't all my niggas live this. Real niggas feel this, can't real niggas live this. Real niggas feel this, can't real niggas live this. Real niggas feel this, can't real niggas live this. Real niggas feel this, can't real niggas live this.
Man, I ain't tryna go to that place. I remember calling that place. I remember call to that place. Tell them I stay in your place. Why you wanna eat off my plate? Tell them I stick to your balls. Why the feds locked up beans? Why the feds locked up balls? Why the feds locked up dealer? Why they take away H? Most days I'm on my own. Usain feels like I'm running alone. I've been a Dizzy Rascal, then man I knew Grand Bugsy Malone. Now I got kids, I'm grown. Still got a buggy the road. But my treasure is blatant. Family, my kids and my goals. Still miss 40 and pose. Still got 40 of foes. Still got thoughts in my foes.
Real niggas feel this, can't real niggas live this. Real niggas feel this, can't real niggas live this. Real niggas feel this, can't real niggas live this. Real niggas feel this, can't real niggas live this.
So let me just explain it anyway. The problem for me with drill music is the fact that it is an expression of an aspect of these young people's lifestyle. Just a small aspect. But what it does to people that don't understand that lifestyle, it makes it look like their whole life 24/7 is like this. That these are the issues they're going through 24/7, not an experience that is part of that issue. And people fail to understand that. And people are so intimidated by these young people, our futures, that they don't even ask questions, they don't interact, they don't engage. These are young people that are award-winning, that go to BET Awards, that go to, I don't know if they go to BAFTAs yet, but Stormzy, again, he's from the same cloth. Everyone knows Stormzy now because of how often he calls out Theresa May, which I find quite exciting, if I'm honest with you. Again, the biggest issue for me is that in the past, who would have contextualized this to young people that are watching these videos? It would have been youth workers, it would have been teachers, it would have been every aspect of society that has come under government cuts. You have no one interceding for these young people and contextualizing what they're seeing. You've got no one looking after their interests because those are the first services to go. Why? Because young people don't vote, their votes don't matter, so you don't have to concentrate on anything that affects them. And for me, that's a huge issue. Again, another issue, county lines. How many of you guys heard of county lines? See, it's the new sexy word, right? What does it actually mean? Does anyone know? Please, go for it.
It's where gangs from large cities send out contacts to smaller, more rural, or just smaller towns to set up drug empires.
Do you know, I like that. It's quite accurate in terms of the outside perception, but I'm going to challenge you on a few things that you said there. Number one, you started with gangs. So when we talk about gangs, it insinuates like a hierarchy and quite a business kind of structure, right? Which these young people absolutely do not have. They can't wake up on time for anything, let alone set up business empires, right? And that's my issue, because it's the creation of this monster in our young people. So we talk about gangs. Gangs is a word that's not defined. It's not defined. So when we apply it to our young people, it leaves the interpretation open to whoever is describing our young people. I've been told I've been in a gang, despite the fact that I've never been in a gang. I've been told I'm a drug dealer, despite the fact that I've never sold drugs. Like I said, I could talk about this all day, if I'm honest with you. And I'd love to, one time, bring down some young people as well to actually talk for themselves. We spent so many years saying to our young boys, we need you to express yourself. With the rising levels of male suicide, we need you to talk, express yourself. And they find a platform that they can express themselves. You know, quite artistically, as you saw the bits of the video there, they design it themselves, they put everything up themselves. And then all of a sudden we try to bring in terror laws that are used for terrorists to tell them they can't express themselves. When they start creating businesses, because a lot of the time, young people, they don't have anything to lose. So when they get into music and they've got something to lose, they're less likely to get involved in criminality because they don't want to lose what they've worked towards. So we take what they work towards and push them back and say, start again. Because it's quite a bleak message I feel like I've put out there. But what I want you guys to take away from today is that when we talk about all the stats that I gave you, which is just that's the sexy stuff from the government and the local government, right? And you talk about almost every single one of these young people have been stabbed or shot or beat up or been in prison or been in a Peru. And I don't want to go too deep because it goes into the education system and it goes into every aspect of society that we see having cuts. What I want you guys to remember is that, again, similar to myself, you shouldn't just look at the trauma that these young people are going through and then have pity on them. That's not what we need. What we need you guys to see is the amount of resilience that they've had to build to survive to this point. And if they were given even half of the opportunities that other young people growing up in different sectors of society get, how much they would have brought into this country in terms of business, in terms of aspiration, in terms of everything. They've been able to survive with nothing and make something with nothing. Almost like the Big Bang Theory, right? From nothing came something. And I feel like that's what they've been able to do. So it's not about pity, it's about when you engage with these young people, whether you see them on the train, whether you see them on the bus, you just have a general conversation with them with no hang-ups. Or if you come across them in an interview kind of position, I want you guys to remember the amount of resilience they have is not traditional for what we expect for people. But it's about helping them learn to apply that resilience into mainstream life. Thank you very much.